So I thought I would just show you quickly how I start fires with a ferro rod and fatwood. And by fatwood, I'm referring to pine wood that's got a fair amount of pitch in it. One of the easiest ways to find fatwood is to look for a standing dead pine tree that's got a fair amount of pitch or sap on the outside of it. When you cut off a piece and split it open, in this forest anyway, fatwood or pine pitch will present itself as this really dark vein here. It might be a lighter brown, but you'll definitely be able to smell it. And when you put a lighter or a spark to it, you're going to notice right away that there's a difference between wood that's got pitch in it and just a regular wood. So I thought I would show you this. It's got a little bit of fatwood in it here, but there's a pretty rich vein here. So to use my ferro rod, I find one of the easiest ways to get a little bit of this fatwood is to shave it off. Now my buck 119, just because I'm using a ferro rod and I'm using it to shave, I've sharpened the spine of it. So I've got a sharp edge on this corner here and a sharp edge on this corner. Most knives when you buy them are going to be round in the back here. You got to be a little bit more careful so you don't get your thumb on there. But even your basic Mora knife has rounded edges here. So if you're going to use a Mora knife or a buck knife with a ferro rod, you're going to need to sharpen these two edges here. Now I believe Mora, there's one of the latest ones, I think it's the bushcraft version, is coming pre-sharpened there. It's got a little bit of a thicker blade for batoning. That knife up here in Canada, I think it's close to $100. These are still $25. So if you just need a basic utility knife, I always carry two. I carry my buck, which I use for batoning, but as a backup, Mora knife is just a great little inexpensive knife, but sharpen the spine on it. Okay, so with that out of the way, what I'm going to do is just make some shavings here using the spine of my knife. We'll see how we do here. But just using one of those sharp edges. Make some shavings or dust, and you'll see what I'm talking about there. Try and collect some of it. Just by using the spine of your knife, you got a couple extra edges there. You're preserving your main blade. You won't have to sharpen it quite as often out here. But fairly quickly, you can see we've got a pretty good pile of shavings there. So the other thing I would normally do if I'm going to light, say, a wood stove or campfire, is to make some some splinters of this, so that once you get your shavings going, you've got some other pieces, because this will burn out fairly quickly. So you've got some other pieces that you can move into there, maybe even a long splinter or two, and then you can move it to your campfire or your wood stove. So let's give this a try with the ferro rod here. This is a UCO brand ferro rod, fairly inexpensive, available all over the place. I think I got this at Cabela's up here for about $12. It's a fairly hard rod. Advantage to that is that it's going to last a long time, not wear out. Disadvantage is maybe a little bit harder to throw a spark with. But the way these ferro rods work is by friction. So what I like to do is actually heat up the rod a little bit. I'm kind of going in slow motion here, but I use some warming strokes, and then I'll give it a good hard throw and throw some sparks. So we're throwing some little pieces of ferro rod into the wood there, but as you can see, fairly quickly in slow motion, that pine pitch lights right up with the ferro rod. And then once again, you can move some of these other slivers or pieces in there, and then transfer that right into your wood stove. Try not to burn my fingers there. But fatwood, ferro rod, sharpened spine on your knife, really easy to do.